you, Chair. So we're live and you can start.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to East Devon District Council's Arts and Culture Forum meeting on the 16th of April 2025. I'm your Chair, Councillor Ollie Davey. I would also like to welcome anyone watching the meeting via live streaming. The meeting can be viewed live online and will be recorded. Please bear this in mind throughout the meeting. Therefore, may I remind colleagues to be careful with their language and that the Code of Conduct applies throughout our meeting. We reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant disrupting the meeting by whatever means. Please turn any phone devices off or silent. And as this Arts and Culture Forum meeting is dependent on internet connection and power supply, in the event of a break in the internet connection or power cut, please bear with us as we try to reconnect. After 15 minutes, if we're not able to reconnect, we will consider the meeting adjourned and reconvene at a later date. Please check the committee page on our website for details. Please make sure all microphones are muted when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise levels. Keep points short and do not repeat points that have already been made and do not interrupt. If you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. All councillors have been sent the agenda for today's meeting, and any members of the public who want to view the agenda can do so by visiting our website www.eastdevon.gov.uk. We'll now start the meeting by doing a roll call of committee members here present. Can you please now unmute your microphone, and when you hear your name, please confirm by saying present. When you've confirmed you're present, please mute your microphone again.
Okay, so Councillor Davey.
Present.
Councillor Barlow.
Present.
Councillor Jenny Brown. We've got Councillor Buchan.
Present.
Councillor Dorbar. Councillor Fernley.
Present.
Councillor Gazzard. Councillor Hookway.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Johns.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Singh. Councillor Sneller. And Councillor Whibley. So Chair, we are a quorum. Okay.
Good. And I believe we don't have any public speakers.
No.
Still not? Okay. So we'll move on to agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. If anyone has a comment on the minutes from the 6th of November 2024, please do this by raising your electronic hand. If I have no hands raised, I'll take this as an indication you're all happy and the minutes are accepted. Anybody got any comments? No? Fine. Well, we'll assume the minutes of that meeting are accepted then. Okay, apologies, Alethea. Who have we got?
So I've had apologies from Councillor Faithful and also for some non-committee members in terms of Councillor Marion Rickson, Councillor Jill Farrow, Zoe Cooper from Exeter Town Council, and Vic Harding and Joe Cairns from Museum Development Southwest.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair, could I just say Jenny Brown as well? I know she was having to go out and knock on doors this morning, apparently. So
I can't think what for. Okay. Thanks, Ian. That probably applies to Colin as well. Oh no, Colin's not on this one anyway. Okay. So Alethea, do you want to do declarations of interest?
Yep, so mindful of the new Code of Conduct, do any members of the forum have any declarations? If so, please state your declaration, including which agenda item your declaration relates to, and please state exactly what the interest is and the specific type of interest you're declaring. So, I don't know if anybody has any interest.
No. Good.
No. Okay.
Okay. We'll move on to the middle of the meeting. Agenda item 5. Year 3 of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund Cultural Programme. And I see Sarah is here now. So Sarah, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Lovely. So I'm Sarah El-Gadi, cultural producer with EDDC, and I'll be giving a summary on the last 12 months of activity in the UK SBF Cultural Programme. So that's from last April and was just completed at the end of March. Oh, it doesn't seem to be letting me change the slide. 1 second. There we go. So we had an allocated budget of £52,000, and it predominantly, the cultural programme focused on 3 areas of activity, and that was the continued development of the Arts and Culture East Devon Network and the continued delivery of the Creative East Devon Fund. We also gave financial support to Screen Devon, and Claire, who is the new General Manager of Screen Devon, will be talking in more detail about that initiative shortly. And I'll also go into a little bit of detail on how our cultural tourism map is continued to be distributed, though that's actually through the SHED, the SBF Sustainable Tourism Programme, but Jerry Pantiva sends her apologies, so I'll cover that today. And just a reminder that outside of the cultural programme, EDDC also financially supports Villages in Action and Museums Development Southwest, which is why they're always invited to give updates at this forum to share their activity and how it aligns with our East Devon cultural strategy. So as I'm sure most of you are aware, we've got an ACE website, which is fantastic, and our directory of creatives continues to grow. So this is a screenshot from the website. We this time last year, we had 150 members. Now we've got over 200 members. So it's great to see that engagement is continuing. I'm continuing to coordinate ACE network meetings. These happen 3 times a year, and we move these around the district. So in the last 12 months, these have taken place at Seaton Gateway Theatre, at Manor Pavilion Theatre, and at Poltermore House more recently in February. And at that meeting, we invited Creative UK to speak and the Digital Culture Network, who are part of the Arts Council. And members always find it really useful to engage with those external speakers who work in the industry. We also continue to send monthly newsletters to all of our members, and those have various opportunities shared and funding opportunities. These are our ACE champions. This group is continuing to grow. We recruited 2 new champions last year, an inclusion champion and a festivals champion. They co-chair the ACE network meetings with me. They also give input on the cultural strategy progress, and they share their knowledge in their related specialism. They also sit on the panel of the Volunteer of the Year Award, which has just recently opened up for nominations for its 2nd year. This is in the picture is Colin Trussell from Sidmouth Folk Festival, who was delighted to be awarded this last year in recognition for his wonderful commitment to the Folk Festival. So if you know of any volunteers who are worthy of this award, do encourage organisations to submit nominations by the 9th of May, and further details are on the ACE website. We've continued to offer training opportunities to our creatives. So in the last 12 months, 10 different sessions have been delivered, benefiting 99 individuals. We select the topics based on what our members want and need. So we've covered topics in producing live events, social media advertising, corporate sponsorship, individual giving, and digital accessibility, as well as 4 sessions that were specific to museums. We always ask for feedback to improve the offer on these, and we've had feedback that people prefer these sessions in person, so we tend to do these in person rather than online. And the feedback we get, like this testimonial, tends to be really positive, that the sessions are useful. The other strand of activity is our Creative East Devon Fund. This continues to prove really popular. In the last 12 months, we had 33 applications and a total of 17 grants were awarded, totaling £37,000. So this represents the majority of our cultural programme spend. To be eligible, you have to be a member of the ACE network, and these are the recipients from last year. You can see the maximum amount of funding we give is £3,000, and the projects cover a range of different cultural genres, various festivals, new festivals like Exmouth Film Festival, but also more established festivals who are in need of our support, like Budleigh Salterton Literary Festival, Sidmouth Science Festival, Sidmouth Folk Festival. We've also helped set up a new community radio station in Seaton and supported a men's mental health project through theatre, immersive theatre. So more details of those can be found on the ACE website. It's great to see that this fund really is making a difference locally to the cash-strapped arts and culture initiatives across the district. As all these projects have just completed their projects, I've received their reports and I've been able to collate some of the impact figures. So in the last 12 months, through the Creative East Devon Fund, we've been able to offer 224 volunteering opportunities in total through the grant scheme. We've also engaged, we've had engagement in cultural events increased by 4,421 people, and the fund has also engaged with a total of 3,925 young people under 30. That's all thanks to the Creative East Devon Fund. We have, in addition to the Creative East Devon Fund, we were also able to give 6 digital equipment grants to museums, totaling £2,800 in February. Equipment included a collections care database, a refurbished laptop, temperature and humidity sensors, audio and camera equipment, and display screens like the one that you can see in the photo that I took at Sidmouth Museum. They've now got this brilliant display screen that makes the artwork on the wall interactive. So you can click on any one of those people's faces and it will tell you who they are and what their connection is to Sidmouth. And it's really fascinating because I clicked a face and it turned out to be Tolkien, who is rumoured to have started writing Lord of the Rings in Sidmouth. So yeah, really just really great to be able to digitize some of these aspects and bring museums into the modern world of technology. The other project I wanted to talk about is the Cultural Tourism Map. You may remember we spoke about this at the last forum meeting. This was a project to drive tourism and visitors to the area of East Devon beyond the peak summer season and highlight our cultural assets. So we printed 40,000 copies of the printed map, which looks like this. And these were distributed, 10,000 of these were distributed by a media company called Glide to high footfall locations in the southwest, and the rest have been distributed by our 50 map partners. And this is a snapshot of where Glide has been distributing them. We've also, we also have a digital version of the map, and this sits on a dedicated web page with individual listings for each entry on the map that can be updated. So we're actually currently running a digital campaign to promote the map with PR and marketing agency Chalk and Ward. And these are some of the fun Google ads that they've put together, the GIFs that sit, that have been live throughout from mid-March and throughout April. And if you click on them, it takes you to the digital version of the map. So the majority of funds for this project came from the Sustainable Tourism Programme, but we did make a small contribution of £2,500 through the cultural programme budget to support this really important work. Finally, looking forwards to this year now, as you're probably aware, in principle, an extension year of the Shared Prosperity Fund has been agreed, and we've been allocated just under 38k for this year's cultural programme. We're just waiting for formal confirmation from the government and the Combined County Authority. But if this can go ahead, this is how the breakdown will look. We hope to continue the Creative East Devon Fund and continue providing support to our ACE network, as well as our partners Screen Devon and Villages in Action. But beyond March 2026, funding for continued delivery of the East Devon Cultural Strategy remains uncertain. So that's something just to bear in mind in the longer term. Does anyone have any questions?
Could you tell me who the festival champion?
Hang on a minute,
Sorry.
Ian. I've got Councillor Buchan, I think, has put his hand up.
Yes, hi Sarah. I was interested that you printed 40,000 leaflets in a sort of digital age. I was surprised that, because the thing about digital things, you can update them constantly, and as things are, the landscape is changing all the time. I was surprised to see that you put, I don't know how much resources went into that would go down that route. It seems so yesterday sort of thing. Is that going to continue, or are they going to go down the digital thing in future?
It's a good question, and we were really aware that we did need both. It couldn't just be a printed version. So we do have the digital version, which is interactive, but we did have feedback that it was actually really important to be able to sort of hold a leaflet and pick one up at venues. And through Glide Media, we've had positive feedback that where they've been putting the leaflets, including as far as Bath, which is actually proving the most popular destination, the Victoria Art Museum in Bath, people are picking them up. And so those people might not have come across a Google ad. We might not have been able to target them in that way. So hopefully, I guess our approach is that we're trying all avenues.
Thank you.
And I noticed we had a workshop on digital inclusion, or we presumably also talked about digital exclusion. And I think we need to bear in mind that some of the visitors to our area may not necessarily be the kind of people who are going to pick up on YouTube or Google Ads. And personally, I do like a leaflet, actually. It's handy to put in your pocket and think, oh yeah, I must go along to that. So Councillor Arnott is displaying the same. So there we go. Okay, over to you now, Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to back up the thing. We've looked in Sidmouth at trying to do it all digitally. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. But you don't get the feedback. You don't get. You just don't get the take up. So I think printing it, although environmentally and all the rest of it is an argument against it, it's so important. You must keep doing that. So well done. Who is the ACE Festival champion, please?
Her name is Sue Briggs, and she is also the chair of Budleigh Literary Festival. There's more information on our ACE website about her background, and I can put you in touch with her if you're interested.
Yes, thank you very much. Love to do that. And also, obviously, we're going to be concerned about March 26. Obviously, we start planning for that miles in advance of that. You're having conversations, I presume, with people. Who are they? How are you getting on? And are you confident that you're going to find the funding for this? Or do we need to have a conversation of different ways you might be able to get money for it?
It's a really good question. I am concerned because obviously SBF is in no way certain, and we can look to the Arts Council, but they're currently undergoing a major review. And so at the next forum, I would like to invite a representative from the Arts Council to give a little update from their perspective in terms of whether funding is accessible through them. But I think it is something that would be great if councillors could also be considering. I don't know, Charlie.
I just wonder if obviously with unitary coming up, that throws everything up in the air again. And again the same for the what's coming up with Screen Devon and also Villages in Action, because where are they going to get it? How far have they got to stretch then? Especially Screen Devon. And I just wonder if you should be talking to the bigger towns in the area to see if you can somehow link in with them to again get this sorted before this all comes up, because I think our leadership, our officers are going to have to be concentrating on unitary because it's a big thing they've got to sort out. And I just think that looking to the future is important, especially for the arts, because you are always going to need funding one way or the other, because it's, however hard I look at it, I can't get it to self-sustain itself.
Thank you. I think Charlie might have a point on that one.
Yeah, thanks. If I can, through the chair, just picking up on your point, Ian, and just to reassure you, we're acutely aware of the sort of funding landscape that's ahead of us, and we've seen huge momentum that's been created by the Shared Prosperity Fund, and it's conversations that we've been having internally with Tom Winters, our economic development manager, to sort of properly understand where the combined county authorities are going with the programme. We're obviously awaiting from government what their replacement programme is, so all is not lost there. We're just awaiting announcements. But let's not kid ourselves. It is a very challenging, tough financial landscape out there, particularly in the arts and culture world. And these are conversations that we are having internally with Sarah, and to ensure that when we get to our sort of this time next year, we've had those discussions internally about our budget setting processes. Again, exactly as you're saying, Ian, about better collaboration with our towns and parishes, because as you're aware, the ACE network has really sort of connected with a whole range of communities, and that's sort of shown with the Creative East Devon Fund, and there's a real appetite, and just the breadth and diversity there that shows that this is really, really important with our local communities. So it's hugely important. We're not underestimating the challenge, but this is not just in arts and culture. It's across a range of other areas, that we're looking to sort of deliver, particularly our discretionary areas. So it is tough. We will do our level best, to seek funding externally. And, Sarah was already looking at, various avenues with the lottery fund. As she quite rightly said, we want to have a discussion with our I think they call relationship manager with the Arts Council, to just properly understand what the direction of travel is with the Arts Council, and how we can tap in and make use of that. So get in early, because it is very, very competitive. It's not just here in East Devon. I'm sure it's faced across the whole of the county and the southwest, and people such as Maya, I'm sure will be acutely aware of those sort of funding pressures. But just to reassure you, Ian, and everyone else on the Arts and Culture Forum, we are working on it, and we are aware. It's not something that we don't know about.
Thank you very much. Can I just declare an interest as well? I am a director of Super School of Art, although I'm nothing to do with the artistic side. I'm merely there to help them find money. Cheers.
Which I'm sure you're very good at, Ian. Okay. Thank you very much for that declaration as well. I don't know if it impacts directly, so but I guess that would be an NRI. Just keeping note of these things. Councillor Arnott.
Thanks, Chair. I've got a not very good microphone. Can you pick me up okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So obviously, it's a great question Ian has posed, and there are political answers. So the fact that this forum exists, the fact that East Devon decided to put its shoulder behind the wheel on this and to bid for UK Shared Prosperity Fund money to support it, was a political decision 3 or 4 years ago, as Charlie can, there's a whole narrative there. So where does the politics take us now? So and it's very boring this, and most people don't understand it. I'm not quite sure myself, but so you've now got this thing called the Devon and Torbay Combined County Authority. which is a funny old thing because it was allocated £16 million in its first tranche, which has basically been spent. And we don't know if there's going to be any more money coming into it because the Treasury, is well, they haven't got money to throw away at the moment. However, as a reassurance, there are 2 districts represented on the Combined County Authority, Exeter and us. So I sit on that Combined County Authority. The second thing is that we don't know what the county itself is going to look like until May the 2nd. And this isn't an appropriate place to speculate whether the current administration is switched for a different administration. But if you had a fiver, so that may also assist us and the arts as we move forward. The third factor is, in terms of local government reorganisation, there is a huge amount of work going on between districts, meeting all sorts of deadlines, which we've met, to come up with suggestions for how unitaries may look. And this is likely to change hugely as well, by the way. But in all of those discussions, those things which people say, and I really don't like this phrase, are the nice to have options, which is, it's what people say about arts and culture. Those are right in there as things that we all want to sustain. So just because local government reorganisation is coming, it's a moment of trepidation, but it is also a moment of opportunity as well. But I can assure you that we as East Devon will be right in the forefront of trying to protect that, not only across Devon itself, but as far as East Devon is concerned. A final point, which isn't really political, but it's so interesting that, let's say, academically, for the sake of argument, let's say, I don't know, let's say Sarah was standing for election for county in a couple of weeks' time. If Sarah ran a Facebook-only campaign, Sarah would get 3 votes and they'd be friends of hers, because Facebook is dead as far as promoting, as far as being able to depend upon the most efficient way of promoting a body of work. It's just changed, it wouldn't be the same, I don't know, 2019 even. So this is fantastic. We do a little bit of bed and breakfast in this house. Everybody gets one of these. We can't let them leave with them because we haven't got that many, but they sit over breakfast and read it and go, wow, my God, all this in East Devon. So as Ian was saying, it is having an Ollie as well. It's not just, oldsters like, let's say, Ian, Ollie and me, who like something to have in the hand. Even my kids are now realising that to get around London, they need an A to Z sometimes, not just looking at their phones like that. So I think this was a brilliant decision to do this. I get that we probably can't keep printing it, to 400,000, but you can already sense what we were hoping for from this was this idea of a knowledge and a pride about the specific tourism, arts and culture offer that East Devon has. And I think that's beginning to work. And I'm really grateful to this panel and our officers and the councillors who supported it. Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you, Paul. And I think that highlights the wider reach of the arts as well, that it does impact on tourism, on prosperity, on employment, and reaches far beyond just a small world of artists, in inverted commas. Councillor Hookway, Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Unlike Councillor Arnott, I have a microphone that works, but a voice that doesn't. So my first point is to thank Sarah for her very comprehensive report and for all the work that she's been doing over the past year, because she is absolutely pivotal in delivering our cultural strategy and the success it's doing. And I'm going to avoid the political. I absolutely agree with you, Chair, in your final comments. Culture in particular is right across everything that we do, and in particular in a district that has so many people who are of senior years, it's a very important point and very important way of bringing people together and to encourage community cohesion, health and well-being, as well as for the cultural aspects of actually creating something that is artistic in its own right. There is some very good work going on at the present time, and across the board, and I'm still hearing about new initiatives from people who want to get up and start new cultural work within towns, which is really, really encouraging, because as we know, when you bring people together, you enable business and hospitality. Those are so important in our district, and they've had a really, really tough time. So culture is a really important part. I know people think it's on a wish list. I think it's more important than that. I think it's essential, particularly down here. We do some really fantastic work, and it's really very positive. So I shall be watching very closely in terms of how we fund and how we can think, but also asking members later on how we could perhaps get some funds from our own budget, because I think there is a very good justification for doing that. There's an awful lot going on that's very positive, and Sarah and also Charlie are to be thanked for their very hard work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nick. Well said. Richard Dorbar, I hope I've pronounced your surname correctly.
Perfect. Very good indeed. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, super. Right. I just wanted to reinforce the information that Paul mentioned, and I think Nick did, in relation to this leaflet business. Totally agree with what you're saying, that we have to recognize the demographic. There are older people who come along who, kind of relate to leaflets far more. And I think it's a very good bit of advertising, despite the fact that obviously we'd encourage IT to be used. But there also can be a kind of imperialism about this, can't there? It is expensive to run lots of IT and so on, and therefore to have leaflets that are available to all is a super idea. I've changed my views on that, but over time. But Sarah, so I think that's a good idea to distribute all those leaflets in that kind of way. Ironically enough, really.
Thank you, Richard. And it was a two-pronged sort of effort as well, wasn't it, Sarah? I mean, you did also have the digital, but it's always good to kind of spread the possibilities there, and as well as digital, have some good old print backup. I'm all for it. Okay, if we have no more speakers, then we'll go on to the recommendation, which is that the Arts and Culture Forum endorses this report and the successful delivery of the Year 3 UK Shared Prosperity Fund Cultural Programme. And I think we should add to that to thank Sarah again for all the work she's been doing, and also for that fantastic presentation today, Sarah. Thank you very much. Okay, Alethea, do we need to take a vote on this?
Not really, as long as you're all in agreement that you want to endorse the report. It sounds as
Yeah.
if you do.
Yeah, well, if we all nod enthusiastically. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Vicky Johns has got her hand up, just in case she wants to add something there. Okay, Vicky.
Hi, Ollie. It was only that I put something in the group chat about the fact that
I've seen that one.
I was just checking it had been seen. Yeah. Otherwise, I agree.
Yeah, we have, Vicky. Yeah, and I noticed you haven't applied for any funding yet. So
actually, sorry, Chair, just for anybody that may be watching, Vicky's just declared an NRI because she works for an art-based charity in Sidmouth. So that relates to item 5 there on the agenda, because obviously not everybody will be able to see that chat.
Yeah, And I'm coming to the end of my first year as cultural champion, but it was Vicky who invited me to my first event as cultural champion, which was the Open Arts exhibition, was it, Vicky, at the Kenaway?
It was indeed, Ollie, and if you're still the arts champion, which I hope you will be, there's another one this year which you will also get an invite to.
Oh, wonderful. No, it was really enjoyable last year and a fantastic variety of artwork on display. I thoroughly recommend it. Oh, Councillor Arnott's coming back for a second bite of the cherry.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, if Vicky does invite any of you to these magnificent exhibitions, leave your credit card at home. So I'm a congenital miser without very much money, but unfortunately, this was approaching my wife's birthday, and where is it? It's somewhere over here. Anyway, let's just say I'm still paying off what we bought there. It's a fantastic picture, but go alone. Perhaps, I don't know, but they are wonderful exhibitions. It's really interesting. It's an interesting kind of crossover of actually, Ian, you might be interested in this. It's kind of private enterprise, isn't it, in terms of artists selling stuff, and then an organization organizing it, and then working with Kenaway House. It's anyway. There's one born every minute, and on that one, I was the one born that minute. But we're delighted to have it, Vicky. But
your invite's in the post, Councillor Arnott.
Well, yeah, well, okay. Well, I might be busy. Thank you.
Don't worry, Paul. I'll lend you the money. You can indulge again. Yeah, I was going to mention actually. It was. I know we're digressing now, but it was well patronised in terms of sales, that exhibition, and we went with a friend of ours from Exmouth, whose son-in-law had some work in the exhibition. I think just 2 pictures, but he sold one of them, so he was really pleased about that. Okay, so we've endorsed that report, and so we can move on. As soon as I find my script again, I've got to switch between the... here we go. Oh yes, so we're on to Maya and Maya George, Creative Director, Villages in Action, with a report from you, Maya.
Lovely, thank you very much. Can everybody see my slides? Is that working?
Yeah. Yep, that's just come up. Thank you, Maya.
Great, thank you. So I'm Mara George, Creative Director of Villages in Action. For anyone who doesn't know, we are an arts charity working across rural Devon. Always does this. Let's see if I can get onto the next slide. Here we go. So what have we been up to in the last 12 months? Well, we've continued to be successful in securing Arts Council funding, primarily through their project grants strand, despite reported success rates across the programme of under 20%. Additionally, we've been in receipt of heritage lottery funding as we diversify or attempt to diversify our income portfolio for all the reasons that have already been talked about today. Across Devon, we have hosted 56 high-quality arts performances for 2,134 live audiences, and with 15 participatory wraparound activity sessions. In East Devon specifically, we've hosted 16 performances with 589 audience and 6 participatory sessions. On average, across all of our performances, 25% of our audiences are made up of children and young people aged between 0 and 25. So that's a 3% increase on last year. We've collaborated with 42 co-curators in developing our responsive programme of activity, and we've delivered a really successful programme of daytime gigs for seniors where young musicians were paid for their performances. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this project in a little while, but it was delivered in partnership with regional and community organisations. We use match funding from our Arts Council project grant along with the East Devon Creative East Devon Fund to make the project a reality. We completed our annual ripple effect mapping cycle, which is essentially our evaluation process, and we've launched rural reflection sessions for artists that are particularly aimed at artists who are underrepresented, whether they are disabled from the global majority or aged under 30. We know that this work is having an impact on artists' perception of rural venues, where they choose to perform and who they want to perform to. We've been able to offer new job opportunities in the cultural and creative industries, and this is a key driver of our work. Alongside employing over 74 performance artists over the last 12 months, we've worked with creative specialists to deliver a series of participatory and community-led workshops and sessions. Specifically in East Devon, we've paid 27 artists to engage with us and our audiences and participants here. Here are some of the quotes from our audiences. We ask everyone, we invite everyone to complete a post-event audience survey. We provide paper forms, QR codes for display, which link to our online audience survey, and a post-event email goes out to anyone who booked online. We know that audiences hear about events from a range of sources, both offline, in print format, as well as in other in-person promotions, and digital promotions alongside that. So we know that our audiences, 55% of them hear about what we're up to from print sources, and 45% hear of them through digital sources. So backing up some of the conversations that have been had already today, that mix is really important. So this year, we have begun to refine our gathering of qualitative data so that we can capture the opinions of audiences and participants who don't normally engage with written or demographic forms. They tend to skew people who are happy to kind of respond to those that form of survey. So we're trying to gauge opinions in other ways, for example, of children under 18 or perhaps over 80s, people over 80 who might struggle reading text, printed text, and so on. We have been encouraging post-event conversations with the network, so either with the local volunteer or we've employed creative listeners who are engaged to have more meaningful conversations with those in our audiences who want to tell us about the connections that they've made, skills that they've developed, or insight that they have gained. So in pictures, so from outdoor theatre and circus to indoor puppetry performances for children, we aim to programme work for the range of residents who live rurally. We've partnered with the Exmouth Festival and numerous volunteer promoters who are dedicated to ensuring that excellent cultural and creative opportunities can be seen and experienced on people's doorsteps. We hosted the Devon premiere of a musical theatre performance all about the post office scandal. And the paper cinema, the photos, the sort of more orangey photos that you can see, they brought some ghostly vibes as audiences watched them create a live film right before their eyes. A little bit more about the Get Together project. So this was possible, as I said, thanks to some additional funding through the Creative East Devon Fund, as well as the project grant funding that I previously mentioned. This was an intergenerational music programme that ran from January to March of this year. I've talked before about the Village Exchange project that saw local creatives skill share across East Devon during 2022. This project allowed us to strengthen local partnerships with Honiton Dementia Action Alliance and the TRIP Befriending Group. And we wanted to develop new ways of working with sector colleagues as a development of that previous project. We were able to employ 4 East Devon-based emerging musicians aged 15 to 21 who performed at 4 daytime performances for older audiences and their carers. Devon Music Education Hub provided a link to local emerging musicians, and Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra have provided specialist mentorship from Hugh Nankervell, who's a musician with a specialism in working with audiences and participants with dementia. The opportunity for local young musicians to develop their facilitation and performance skills for a range of audiences is key to their success in building a sustainable career locally, given that the majority of freelance musicians and artists have a portfolio career. We have made new relationships with Devon Youth Jazz Orchestra and the In Focus charity who provide specialist education locally. We also hosted, so the photo you can see at the top right-hand corner is a hybrid Move More introductory session. So again, for older participants from a range of settings, some people living independently who receive no care support, some living independently receiving some domiciliary care, and those living with dementia who are supported by their partners, carers. Using video content from our Zest Active Arts online platform. Through an excellent engagement process, we're cooking up plans for the future for ongoing use of the digital movement and music content in the B Health and Fitness Gym in Honiton, alongside partners that we've already mentioned and RV Extra Care, who are domiciliary care providers. So essentially what we're trying to do is provide a range of activities for older audiences, and these are targeted at times of day that are good for those particular audiences, because we know we serve those evening audiences well, but not everybody is able to engage with those particular performances. So diversifying how and where we meet audiences is really important for us. Just coming to the end of my presentation, a quick look ahead. We're currently in the process of recruiting the East Devon Network Lead that I spoke about at the last meeting, and that has been made possible thanks to the uplift approved by this committee. They will be in post shortly after the Easter break, and I'm delighted to say it's Wendy van der Plank, who many of you will know, has been a volunteer promoter at Villages in Action for near on 30 years, and is well placed to bring on the next generation of promoters. So Luke, our producer, is busy arranging the summer performance programme with local promoters. So please keep a lookout for outdoor and walkabout theatre, including an Edinburgh Festival preview and music from local musicians, the Two-Bit Troubadours. Finally, I just wanted to draw your attention to two call-outs that are currently live on our website. We're partnering with Doorstep Arts and the Exeter Northcote Theatre to offer a bursary to support the creation of original theatre for children and young audiences in Devon. We will provide them a bursary and mentorship support to get their ideas off the ground, as we know that this is a demographic that's kind of currently quite underserved in terms of the high creative output that's coming from local artists. Also, Create Tour Connect is a new innovative partnership project where we are commissioning, developing and touring theatre across the rural touring network in England. So with our partners, we're looking to support a Southwest-based artist or company to create and tour a new piece of theatre for community spaces, primarily for adult audiences. The deadline is the 29th of August, and companies must be available for a fully funded 36-date minimum tour across the UK network between September and December 2026. So if you know any local artists that might be interested in applying for either of those opportunities, please do direct them towards our website. I think that's it for now. If there are any questions, I would be delighted to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. And yep, we're back. Yep, we have a couple of questions for you. Just before I go to questions, there was a familiar couple of names in there. Hugh Nankervell I worked with years ago when I worked for the Devon Music Service, the youth music, and also, of course, the fantastic Youth Jazz Orchestra, who, I always thought they were absolutely wonderful. And yeah, but once again, you know, we're hearing about collaborations with other organisations, and I think those are so important. We keep on working with other people like that. And also, you know, you touched on the kind of financial aspects there, that yes, you know, we do fund things that happen, but they also, to some extent, wash their own face too. That, you know, that people are happy to make a contribution. And I've just been looking at some of the stats on how people travel to some of these performances as well, and I noticed that 20% of them can actually walk to the venue, which is amazing. 21% in fact. So obviously, as somebody keen on sustainability, that doesn't happen unless you go out to where those people are and put those things on. Right, so we'll go to questions. Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report. It all looks good. Just a little concern on the stats you gave us, comparing last year to this year, 24 to 25. It seems that our box office incoming, especially East Devon. So Devon's wide is up, but East Devon is down. Audience attendances, Devon is up, East Devon is down by 10%. Number of performances, we're both up on that, which is good, but that's even more worrying if we're having more performances and we've got less people going. Participant attendance is down again, and again, so is Devon on that one. And I just wondered, is there a reason for this, or is it because we haven't funded you enough? Is it East Devon isn't artistically interested in this sort of thing? I live in a little village, and I know you used to come here, but I don't think you do anymore. And I know it was always liked before, but I don't remember seeing you around or advertised lately anyway. Thank you.
So in terms of the stats, it's a slightly longer process. It all comes from what people want locally to happen. So we have had a bit of a drop off in terms of our promoter numbers in East Devon, which is why the new East Devon network role coming in is going to be really crucial in building up that volunteer network again. So that's the idea of that role, is to really kind of reinforce that. What I would say is it depends on the projects, it depends on the scale of the performance. So some years audience numbers might be slightly smaller, but it might be that we've worked in a more engaged way with a smaller number of audiences. For example, it might be something that's more specialist, or work that perhaps tackles issues such as identity and so on. So it's just a variation, I think, year on year in terms of the programme. I think if we look at those numbers again next year, you'll see that they'll really increase in East Devon again. It's kind of, these things sometimes come in waves. So that's how I would explain that. And in terms of your village, I would be delighted to make connections. If you have, we rely so heavily on those volunteers within those communities, and when people reach out to us, we work with them. One thing that I do think has changed slightly over the time that Villages in Action has been running is that for a long time, I think local communities saw our events as a way to fundraise, which is absolutely true, and that's still the case. But of course, there are increased costs across the board in terms of artists' time, and we do believe that artists deserve to be paid fairly. But what you can see is where we've got the line other community fundraising, that actually at East Devon events, promoters are really excellent at finding other ways to fundraise around the event. So that it could be running a raffle, but it could be we started to charge a little bit for participatory, so trying to increase the offer of kind of what's happening. And East Devon promoters are particularly good at, as I say, fundraising. That might be the bar, it might be offering, food and snacks. And we're going to be doing a lot of training this year with promoters around how to expand the offer, how to kind of make more of an event and put more around it. And so hopefully we'd hope to see that those figures would increase this year.
How to get more money out of people's pockets, basically, Maya, isn't it? Yeah, well, just invite Councillor Arnott with his credit card.
Absolutely.
Councillor Arnott, over to you.
I've gone cash only now, Ollie.
That's fine. We've got a card machine. No problem.
Okay. Well, funnily enough, so brilliant. Thank you so much for this, and also thank you. And Nick will know what I mean by this. Take note, other organisations we fund to the extent of 3 or 4 extra noughts on the end. Thank you for putting our East Devon brand on your website. Really matters to us. Really matters to us. And I'm yes, exactly. And lots of the councillors know what I'm talking about here. Lovely to see that Timbridge is involved as well. It's just a suggestion in terms of publicity. So we've got a very effective residents newsletter thing. Please do use it. So there was an event in Farway in November, Fault Lines. That's in my ward. That is 3 miles that way. I didn't know because Farway is well named as Farway. It is far away. It is far away from anywhere. So I didn't know. But similarly, actually, the events across Devon are of interest to us as well. So, somebody can, albeit we can't walk there, Ollie, I'd happily go to Chagford or something to see an event. So if you can feed stuff through, I can see Sarah there, feed stuff through to Sarah, we would be delighted to put that out. And we've got a lot of people who read our newsletters. Those then go to parish councils as well. So that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, and indeed, I do remember going to Chagford for an event many years ago, since you mentioned it. Councillor Hookway, Nick.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, well, my sincere thanks to Mayor for her report, which I think is very interesting, and also my sincere thanks to Wendy for her unbounded enthusiasm in organising these events. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think these the villages the Rural Villages Network that you run is really important for a whole range of reasons. I was absolutely amused by one of your feedback comments, which says, generally I avoid this type of thing, but I came to support a friend and was totally blown away. That should be, I think, your selling point. And there is a heritage issue here as well, right? I live in Exmouth. We have heritage issues that aren't covered, but you also do in the rural areas, and these must not be forgotten. And I was recently reading an article about what goes on in Brittany. They are very keen with their heritage, that it is not lost and people have a connection to that place. We should do the same. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think also I'm reminded of you talking about musicians and our performers. There's like a nursery going on here. We are developing people, but we're also doing huge benefit for people in their health and well-being. You mentioned about people with dementia, and that's really, really important. And just so because it happens in the towns on the coast doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't happen elsewhere, because it's just as important. So I think you've done some really important work, and thank you so much for all that you're doing. Because we must make sure that everybody in the district has some availability of a cultural activity in their own area. I think that's really great. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, it is all about increasing access, isn't it? You're right, that is very important. Councillor Fernley, Paula. As soon as you've figured out how to unmute, there we go.
I'm sorry, I've got terrible internet, so I hope this works. Great report, great to hear what you're doing. This sort of partly with getting more engagement for yourselves. If the councillors don't know, we can't spread the word. And we do have an internal councillors newsletter, don't we? So it may well be that if we could get some events put there. I mean, don't bombard us, but it's well worth knowing what's going on. And I know I'm the same. I like to know what's going on, and I like to go if I can. And our area, Tithe Barn, we have nothing. Our little village is still up and coming. We've got no venues, but the science park is trying to be more community, wants to engage more with the community, and they have their dome, which they are prepared, so they say, to offer for holidays, for school holidays. So if you have anyone that wants to do stuff at the science park, they want a venue in our area. I know you're kind of looking for the community to come and say to join in, but I'm just putting that out there, that the science park is wanting to get more community involved for community activities. So I'm just passing that on.
Thank you, Paul. A great point. And yes, another collaboration. There we go. So that would be great, Maya. Okay, Alethea, I don't think we've got any recommendations here, have we? Just to accept Maya's report.
Yeah, no, it's just a presentation from Maya.
Yep. So that's lovely. Thank you very much, Maya, and great to hear about all the good work you're doing, always. Okay, so Museum Development Southwest, we don't have anybody from them. Do we have anything to demonstrate there, or was that just in the agenda? So.
Yes, it's just unless Sarah wants to add anything, it's just the information is provided in the agenda papers.
Yeah.
There.
So just a note that activity. Museums, it's great the work they're doing as well in helping museums develop their offer. Okay, so in that case, we can move on to agenda item 8, Screen Devon, and we'll receive a presentation from Claire Horrocks. I saw you there, Claire.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me and for inviting me here today. It's been amazing to hear about the incredible work going on in East Devon, and it's been really enlightening spending the last couple of months just kind of engaging with the output of East Devon. And I think you guys, in terms of what you do, should be immensely proud. It's remarkable case of best practice across the field. So it's really, really lovely to be part of these conversations. I'm going to try and share my screen. Let's see if it lets us do that. Oh, no, we're having troubles. Let's have a look. All right. This is a relatively new laptop, so some of the settings are... Oh, no. Sarah, did you have access to my slides?
I can try and share. It might take a moment to pull them up.
Let me see if I can try again this way. Oh, we might be all right now. Can you guys see my screen now?
We can, Claire, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, let's have a look and see if we can present this one. There we go. Reassuring, isn't it, that your person in charge of screen culture is struggling to operate. There we go. Don't be alarmed. So thank you so much for having me. So Screen Devon, so we have been working really hard to establish ourselves in this first year. I'm manager of Screen Devon, so my role is 2.5 days a week. I'm based across the county, but kind of pretty much out of Exeter. The best thing that we've been doing is just kind of getting to, I've been in post since January. So there's been a lot to kind of get our head around, and East Devon was one of the first local authorities that we've been working to engage with. So since we've been establishing ourselves, we've been working really hard to make Devon and understand how Devon can become more film friendly. And by that, I mean by attracting more high-end film and TV productions to the county. We've been working really hard to log infrastructure to understand what crew, what talent, what suppliers and locations exist across the county, and understanding how that impacts our workforce capacity. So when we do get visiting productions, we're able to respond very quickly and match up as much local and regionally based offers as possible within that kind of process. Something we've been doing and establishing is ways to track the economic impact from screen productions across the region. So that means that we're able to present how much money's been spent in the area and on what kind of different things that's been spent on. And that's something that we've been getting support from with one of our partners, which is Film in England. We've been working to nurture and support the creative industries, and by that I mean we are looking at hosting events across the county and working to bring about some really interesting conversations, discussions and networks, amplifying opportunities for people to engage in the screen industries and identifying where there's gaps. So working really hard to see where where Devon isn't maybe punching at the areas it should be. And we've been working with our partners such as Screen Cornwall, and again, Filming in England and BFI to identify this, and that's a bit of a long-term goal. As we are establishing ourselves, we are looking at our own cultural strategy and how that might fit in and align with other cultural strategies across the county, especially East Devon, which again, best practice, some really, really great insights in there, and seeing how we can definitely work towards those shared goals so we don't miss any opportunities and we can grow together. And alongside becoming film friendly, we're really working to put Devon on the map, and we've got some really great ideas in the pipeline to look at how we can better the screen industry's relationship with Devon and what we can do here and become recognised as a destination for film and high-end TV to take place. So one of the first things that Screen Devon did, this was before we officially launched, was host an event at the Exmouth Festival. So this was a pop-up event in partnership with the festival, which was able to tap into not only the East Devon and Exmouth Festival audience, but also bring industry members into this space and share and discuss. We had a guest speaker who's known for some incredible work on Barbie and Wonka, so a creative director, and they were able to have conversation. We shared that and platformed that into the room. We shared information about Screen Devon and our role, and we listened and took on board what people in the industry were hoping to see from Screen Devon, which opened up into a wider networking event. As a result, one of the first things I did when I took post was to follow up all of the people who attended this event personally. So I had conversations with the vast majority of those who attended, and it was really, really great way to connect. I've met some incredible people that I didn't know existed who were East Devon based, some incredible award-winning producers, directors, filmmakers. There really are some incredible people hiding in the network. So it's been really interesting to connect and have conversations and see what they expect from something like Screen Devon and how we could better serve the region. As a result of the Exmouth Festival, we're able to support lots of individuals and take things further. We've had some really great conversations with filmmakers and photographers. We've since been able to match up one or two of the people that attended with paid roles for BFI supported short films, which I'm monitoring and following to make sure we can have a look and see how that went. So that was a really nice chance because we've been able to get many of the industry who are based in East Devon onto the Screen Devon database and directory of cast and crew, which has been able to allow us to be better at responding to any inquiries that come through. And as I said, I've also made some really great connections with producers and directors and connected them up with other producers and directors across Devon. I believe there's a great producer who's in conversations with a North Devon filmmaker who's making a film in Durban in South Africa. And by lucky coincidence, both of them were in Durban at the same time and were able to meet up thanks to Screen Devon making those connections. And it sounds like they're working to support a new documentary, which is hopefully coming to fruition in the next couple of months. As a further result of the Exmouth Festival, we were able to support 7 enterprises, which was more than we targeted. So that's included platforming a photographer who was happy to share some of their work across our website, an incredible photographer who loves landscapes, and we were able to put some really beautiful shots of East Devon on our website, which is a work in progress. And we're also working with an East Devon-based producer who is looking for support in the early stages of a feature film. And we were able to match them up with hosting an event recently where they were able to invite other members of East Devon community to come and potentially invest in their film that they wish to make, and we were able to discuss ways that they might be able to reach out to other parts of the East Devon community to support that in a further way in terms of logistics and infrastructure, and identify places where maybe they might be able to shoot and take this this film idea beyond the page. So one of the biggest things that I mentioned earlier that Screen Devon is working to do is becoming more film friendly. So we're working really hard to attract more high-end TV and film productions. And this involves us being a simple one-stop kind of place where people can come to and we can distribute those inquiries. We're really keen to be quick to respond. And what we're doing is as we speak to local authorities across the county, we're understanding where there are areas of best practice in this and areas where we can make recommendations. You'll be pleased to hear that East Devon are nailing it and doing an incredible job of working with productions. Caitlin is just a remarkable person at her job, and it was really enlightening to have conversations and see how great and how confident East Devon is in dealing with inquiries and bringing those productions to the county. So that's really great to hear, and I'm hoping that we can use some of the structures that East Devon has to make recommendations across further areas of the county. And one of the things we're looking at doing is presenting a Devon-wide code of practice. So that would be something that I would like to share perhaps with Sarah or other members of the team, so we can really work to looking at making sure that Devon is aligned in this way. And it will also include potentially a Devon-wide film pack. So this would include locations and recommendations for suppliers and logistics that can be used just to market ourselves in a much stronger, more confident way. I'm also looking at how we can work with permits to make sure that each part of the county are presenting very similar permits. So for those coming into the county, it's a really straightforward, streamlined, film-friendly process. If you're coming in to film something in East Devon and then need to cross the boundaries as a producer, that's something that can cause delays, or it can become a problem, making it less attractive as a place to come. We have been working to track a recent production, a Bollywood production that took place in East Devon last summer. And we were able to get some figures and discovered that over the 5-day shoot, I think £700,000 was spent across Devon-based suppliers and individuals and businesses through some, I have to admit, some basic maths. I didn't have the full details, but it looks like about 40% of that was spent directly in East Devon. So you can see how if we were working really hard to attract more shoots and more productions each year, we would be able to really nail down even more into the economy and work really hard to sustain a bigger directory and database of East Devon suppliers to really make recommendations to work with those. And not only is that great for the economy, but we're also seeing that that's a really great way to be a sustainable filmmaking practice. So that's something we're looking at doing. So the more local, the less travel. And it makes it really simple and a great process for those production managers coming in. That's what they like to see. And we're working to better understand what makes Devon unique in terms of our RP, our stories, our perspectives. We've already heard about the importance of heritage in East Devon. So we're working with partners like Exeter City of Literature and the Special Collections at the university to identify where there are incredible stories that are unique to different parts of Devon, and how we can perhaps put those in front of people as a potential to turn into something for screen, and how we can then steer that towards more ownership of what those stories are, which feeds into more kind of local tourism and that ripple effect of encouraging people to come and visit. An indirect example is there's a film called The Salt Path, which is coming out later next month. And Screen Devon has been working really hard to understand what that means in terms of people coming to visit Devon, what that means in terms of people taking inspiration from travelling on the coast path themselves, and how we can not only make the most of that opportunity, but also track what that means. So looking at ways of working we've had conversations with the South West Coast Path, National Trust and others where we should be able to see a positive impact on a film like The Salt Path and what that can make to regional economies. Next steps. So we are really excited to be working with East Devon again, and I thank you so much for your continued support and investment in what we're doing. And I hope that we can continue to work really closely and be responsive to ways that Screen Devon and East Devon can make the most of these opportunities. We are very much committed to hosting another event with you guys. We presented an idea that it could be about demystifying green filmmaking, which is something that many filmmakers locally and regionally are trying to do more of, but it's a complex thing. So we're looking at ways that we can work with an East Devon-based provider to host that. And we're committed to supporting more organisations and enterprises along the way. We'll continue to track our screen tourism, as I talked about with the Screen Path, and we're making better ways to explore how that inputs into the economy. And we're constantly comparing how we do across the region. So we're really well connected with other screen offices in such as Cornwall, Somerset, Bristol Film Office and Wiltshire. So we're working to see how we compare with those, but also further afield and looking at kind of being aspirational towards something like how Screen Yorkshire and Wales Film Alliance work to not only put themselves on the map, but also create a lot of their own work. Thank you so much. Have you got any questions? I am very happy to answer. Let's see if I can stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Claire. That's really interesting as well. And congratulations on year one, and let's hope it keeps on going. Oh, yes, hands are popping up all over the place. I mean, my big takeaways from today are collaborations are so important, and I think the more we all work together, the better it is. I mean, as a musician, I've never been interested in solo performance. I've always been in bands. I've always enjoyed playing with other people, and the bigger the band, the happier I am. And also the economic aspects of this, as he had made the point earlier, the arts, you don't always associate it with money. And it can be a struggle to make money in the arts, but it can also have a huge ripple effect, to borrow from your presentation about the Salt Path, in the economic impact that it has. So I think it's not insignificant, and we have to bear that in mind, although making clear that the arts is not just about making money. It's a lot more than that. But it's easy to ignore the economic aspects of it as well. So I've got Councillor Fernley first. Paula.
Thank you, Ollie, and thank you for that very interesting presentation. I'm not sure whether I should declare an interest, as I am a photographer. But anyway.
No, that's just shameless self-publicity.
On our database, please. We need more photographers.
Oh, excellent.
Well, there you go. Another collaboration coming up.
Oh dear. I'm curious to know how you had been advertising this, because as a photographer, I'd have thought somehow I might have come across it on social media. Not that I'm on social media all the time, but I'm curious to know how I might have known about this, which is, will give some great opportunities for all sorts of people. I've just been having a look online at your website while this works, and having a little bit of trouble with the mobile version. I don't know if you're aware, the mobile.
Yeah, it's not great. That's why I said it was a work in progress. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry. We're waiting for our developers to help us and support. We have a limited marketing budget, which it's getting sucked up and things, but we're hoping to have our website improved. There's a lot of issues with it at the moment, but we're where I'd like to have more information about what's already taken place in Devon, be a bit prouder of who we are and what we've got. So I've been working closely with kind of distributors and other films to acquire permission to use those images and stories. So there's a bit of work to be done. And in terms of reaching out, we've had 2 events so far as Screen Devon, and those have both been quite targeted. The first being the launch at the Exmouth Festival. And that was pretty much steering towards a specific type of industry. And then our event that we held in Torridge was very much focused on locations as they launched their location strategy. So what we're working towards is something that will be more crew and kind of skill-based, which will be a larger thing for Screen Devon, which are labels to connect and get people in a room and talking. We also held an event at Two Short Nights Film Festival back in February, which is very much about emerging talent. So where we are very much alive and in work, we're looking at those targeted things at the moment, which is a bit more manageable. As I say, it's just me at the moment, so
yeah, you can't do everything.
I want to, and I'm trying, but yeah.
Running a business on my own, I completely know where you are.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully we'll be having lots more things out and about, and we're going to be building in a newsletter and a bit more kind of better understanding of who's on, and the more people that register on our directory, the easier it will be to share those opportunities.
Brilliant. And then my last point was, I'm really pleased that you're trying to encourage green filmmaking. I mean, that's just, we need to be encouraging it in every area of life. And if you're taking a lead on this, then it's great. I mean, it's not just saving carbon, it's treating nature well, isn't it? It's not going to places and trashing it just to get a good picture. So
absolutely. Yeah, we really want to see a positive impact on all productions, from emerging talent up to high-end film and TV. So I think as part of our code of conduct, we can build in a green filming practice, which is that would be a bigger job to get right, but we can make recommendations of what that means when you're going to come here and shoot. Most big productions have a green officer, so I'm working to better understand what that role means, to make sure that it's legit and not just a box ticking exercise, and we've got some good advisors who can help us with that. So,
brilliant. Thank you.
On that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good point there, Paul, about sustainability and yeah, not trashing the area. We certainly don't want that. We're happy to have them, but they've got to leave the place tidy when they go. Councillor Hookway, Nick.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, thank you very much indeed, Claire, for your report and for your enthusiasm, which I think is very important indeed. I wanted to say that and get in it first, really, that of all the issues when we talk about local government reorganisation, this is one that we must make sure goes forward. We are actually ahead of the curve here in getting everybody, all the councils in Devon, to think about how significant, and I'm going to use that word significant a lot, how significant this initiative is in gaining film companies to come into Devon. Creative industries are one of the main growth areas in the national economy. And we heard earlier on about Creative UK, which the government is sponsoring and providing money for. Right, if you're creative and you can focus your creativity into making a film, you are going to make a lot of money and help the area make a lot of money. We've already seen 700k mentioned. I still can't tell you, because it's commercial in confidence, how much this council has made from a film in East Devon. That again is significant. Okay, and this is something that we need to really, I think, keep the faith with and keep going and realize how important it is. And we need to realize that the significant gains that we're going to get are significant. So they are really, really important, and we must make sure that this initiative carries on and develops, because as we found out from Claire, all the other counties are doing this, and at some point, one day, perhaps, it might come together, but it needs to and be regional, but it needs to be very much important for Devon, because there are huge benefits to be gained here. So carry on, Claire. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good point, Nick. I know whenever I watch a TV production, I'm always, I wonder where they filmed that, you know, and yes, I won't repeat my comments about Sidmouth and the recent Miss Austen production, but
well,
it wasn't filmed in Sidmouth, I can tell you.
Well, I mean, if I may just come back, Chad, just as an aside, if you think about people in Lou recently have been really delighted because a TV program that's supposed to be set in Devon was filmed in Lou, and they're getting the benefit of it. So, you know, even something as simple as that can make a huge difference to the local economy. Absolutely critical, you know, it's really important. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Thanks.
Well, you only have to look at the list of people involved in a production at the end, don't you, to realise how many people there are on set. And, they're all coming into the area and they all need accommodation and feeding and so on. Okay, Councillor Arnott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to start the cross-Tamar war on Lou versus Sidmouth. Let's not go there. There's plenty of that going on elsewhere. Yeah, so delighted to be part of it. And I know you'll appreciate this, Claire, but again, there is politics in this. So we as the administration have to push this, but also I would have discussed this with other district leaders as well. So what you've put together is a funding package. So I think it's 7 districts: County Council, Exeter Culture, Plymouth Culture, and the University of Exeter, which is terrific. And that shows a wide buy-in, which is really important for you, as you know, going forward, is what you can prove. At the moment, I'm afraid I'm looking at Mayor, who has delivered the apple for teacher with her branding on Villages in Action for East Devon. And I know your website's new and I know it's work in progress. It is important for us to get acknowledgement of our investment, if you can do that, because it's sort of a two-way street. It's saying what we are as well as you being able to say, we're not just, I mean, look, because I've worked in film and television. Some attempts at setting up local film development agencies, commissions, have often been, you know, one person sitting in bed with a laptop, if you look at it around the country. So And yours is the opposite of that. It's come out of a very serious program of thought at the University of Exeter. It's then cleverly and patiently won the backing of the local councils. So it is important, I think, all round that public investment is recognised. And so, for example, if you had a huge slab of money from the Arts Council, I'm sure you'd be required to put it bang there. So if you can give that some thought, but I get that the website's not quite there. But
all I need is your logo. I need you to send me your logo and your branding requirements, and we'll get those on. Yeah, it's just a matter of something that hasn't been.
Oh, lovely,
Oh,
Charlie,
so, yeah,
Sarah.
please do.
Go on then, off you go.
And we'll
That's
get
lovely.
that.
Thank
We'll get
thank
that
you,
updated
Claire.
as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Ian Barlow. Ian.
Thank you. Yes, read the report, read the previous one that we had in November's meeting where we agreed to the next tranche of money for you. I just wonder, I've got a few questions and a little bit more perhaps in depth. I just wonder if you can tell us how many people are on your database now, sort of the amount of inquiries you might have had. Also, who's chairing the advisory board now and how many councils sit on that? And again, just thinking about Paul's point about not recognising who's giving you the money, in a minute you're going to be coming back, because I think one of the points you put forward is this needs funding for many years to come, 5 to 10 years project, etc. So again, I think KPIs of something of how we're progressing, although what you've given us today is great, 5 things and then 7 things. I just think that you need, if you want the money to be guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but easier for you to get the money, is we need to know how we're progressing. These KPIs are very important, and I'm sure our officers, Charlie, etc., will know how to do this. So the sort of things we're going to want. And again, people don't realise how far, I never realised until I started on the council, how far councils look ahead. So we will be planning next year's budget again in October this year, if not before then. So again, money's tight. If you want to keep on it, we know it's important. We know you can deliver, but you've got to prove that we are, and that we're going forward. And I just wondered if you could just tell us who's chairing the advisory board at the moment and how many councils do have a seat on that. I think we were promised, I think it was 7 different councils were putting money in, all of £10,000. I just wonder if you've got all that money. Thank you.
Yeah, so one question at a time. So the way Screen Devon works, we are overseen by members. There's 3 members. There's someone from Plymouth, someone from Exeter University, and someone from Exeter Phoenix, and that filters down to our board. One of our first steps has been getting all of the local authority councils aligned, which is a huge job because each of you work very differently. So what we're trying to do is, and people who have been on those local authorities in the first instance have since changed and moved around. So we have been guaranteed support for the next year by yourselves, North Devon, Torridge, Plymouth City, so it's Plymouth Culture. Exeter University is supporting again, and we are looking to, in the next couple of weeks, bring together all of those local authorities, whether they've been invested or we're sharing a cultural strategy and a cultural outlook, to establish that advisory group. That's something that's not happened yet and hadn't happened when I had been put into post. So I'm really keen for that to happen, because I think that will be the first steps into building a better relationship across Devon, but also that code of conduct and other forms. And I think there, as I understand it from our board of directors, the plan was for there to be 1 member of the council to represent and speak between the board, myself, and the councillors. So that's all in discussion. So it'd be really good to establish who that might be from East Devon and how we can take these conversations further about having a representative as we start to align thinking. Does that answer all your questions, Ian?
Well, again, the size of the database was the
size of the database. Yeah, so we've got 50 crew on there at the moment, and that's very much growing. One of the things we are seeing is there's a culture of people who are based in Devon not identifying themselves as a Devon-based industry member, and that's because a lot of the work at the moment comes out of London and Bristol, and there's a bit of a culture of people not getting employed because there's a belief that it will cost that production more money to make people travel or stay over. So we're trying to change that, and we're trying to get people prouder and better understanding of where they are based, because there are some incredible people who are here but get a lot of their work out of the county. So it's a bit chicken and egg. And going back to what we were talking about with Lou being represented as Devon, That comes from the heritage of some great productions taking place in Cornwall over a number of years. So you've had the Poldarks and you've had Doc Martin, and a lot of the crew are the same. So that's something that we need to be happening here if we can get something sustainable and consistent, not just people popping in for 5 days for a shoot and then popping off again, but something with a real tangible rolling and get into those conversations early on in production phases. Then it means that we can better build the crew and people will potentially relocate or be upskilled, which again, something we're working on with the BFI and Screen Cornwall in terms of identifying what those gaps are in the county. So we've got 49 at the moment, and what we're doing is we kind of triage those people when they sign up, so better understand what level they are of the industry. There's a lot of amazing emerging talent, and then there's a handful of people who are industry ready. So we're just working out how we can do that. And one of our things we'd like to do, going back to that conversation again, is have a bit more of a launch about registering and signing up and what that looks like. We're also really keen to get more suppliers on our database. I think we've got about 20 to 30, but we need to see more caterers, more accommodations. We need to see more, everything from scaffolders to drivers, security. So there's things like that we need to work on better. And I think that comes through support from local authorities. And we're working quite close with Devon Chamber of Commerce as well about how we can get more people invested in that.
Okay, Ian, answer all your questions.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so just remains for me to thank Claire, and we'll move on to the next presentation, which is from the Manor Pavilion Theatre, and Graham Whitlock, the manager there. Over to you, Graham.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. Let's just share this presentation.
On my laptop, the share screen button is down at the bottom. It's just a green square with an arrow in it.
Yeah, let's have a look.
You're allowed to have difficulties anyway, Graham, because you're not a screen expert.
I'm going to call my assistant to help you on this one. Just bear with me one sec.
Well, it's live theatre, and it's analog. Yeah, see, we're getting a bit of live theatre here now. There we go. You're on.
He's behind you.
You just lost your presentation. Bear with one sec.
That's very good by your standard, Ian. Very good.
Are we seeing?
Yeah, we're full screen now.
Great, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. We all need a younger person behind us, don't we? To operate the digital.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Graham Whitlock. I'm the theatre manager at the Manor Pavilion Theatre. And what we wanted to do this morning was to talk to you all about what's happened over the last 12 months and where we're going in the next 12 months. We've put this presentation together. And on our first page, we thought it was really interesting to see who is actually using the theatre. So actually 45% of our productions are professional. And then we have amateur and community interest groups, just 31, education 16, and live music 7.29%. The live music may look as if it's a bit low. We do have soundproofing problems in the building, and being in a residential area, we do have to be a bit subtle and a bit careful as to regards what we put on and when. So I think that would probably have an impact on that. Okay, so actually, I'm sure most of you will know that actually the art investment contributes to £4 to the local economy for every £1 spent by a local authority. We know this simply of the fact of people travelling to us, tourism, they're going to come and they may spend a day, they may spend longer, they may look for accommodation, they certainly might want some food and drink. And so it's actually very interesting to see that every pound that is spent by local authority, it generates that £4 in the local economy. So where are our customers coming from? Well, we have just under 70% coming from the EX postcodes, and non-EX postcodes are 30%. You may be interested to know how we can get these facts and figures. We do have Spectrix is our box office system, and so we're recording all the data and info with every transaction, so we can track where our customers are coming from, how regularly they come, etc., etc. The next slide shows you our actual ticket sales. If you look at the column down the side, it will give you the year and the total ticket sales. You will see that they literally increase year after year. There was a blip between 2017 and 18 when there was a slight dip. But year after year, there's been that increase until COVID hit us. And then you can see the massive drop that came. We were closed for about 18 months, and we were, in fact, one of the very first theatre in the West Country to reopen with COVID restrictions in place. But we felt that we really needed to open to get back to the levels that we were at. You can see the increase year on year. What's really interesting in the year just gone, 24-25, the last financial year, is that increase has actually quite interesting, because we were closed for January and February. So we had an increase, but in the same point we were closed for 2 months due to building works. The box office was open selling tickets, but there weren't any live performances because the building work was actually in the auditorium. The next one you can see, again, is just another chart on the figures and seeing the increase from the COVID years and how it's been built up and going up in the right direction year after year. The next one is our bar sales. Again, from COVID 2021, the increase year on year. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because people say people haven't got the money, they're cutting back, etc., etc. And yet our bar sales have gone in the right direction every single year. Again, if you look at the last 2 years, the drop from 90k to 76, again, that is simply because we were closed for 2 months and weren't actually having any events on and not able to take any bar take. I must stress the bar take is bar sales, but also our ice creams sales, which we do extremely well on. The main part of our year is spent with the summer play season, which is put on with 12 plays in 12 weeks, and that's over July, August, and September. It's presented by Paul Taylor Mills. We work very closely with them, and it does actually mean, again, that we're quite unique in so many ways. It's the longest running summer rep season in the UK. It's a venue that actually has shows on in 3 months from Monday to Saturday with no turnaround time, because one set is on and the next set is being built in our getting area, and the rehearsals for that play are being done in 1 week. So really quite an achievement to achieve such productions and of such high standard. People do ring us up and book around what plays are on, and travel from all over the country to book bed and breakfast and hotels around what plays are on. And it is obviously incredibly popular. You might say, well, how can you say it's popular? Well, we thought, let's find out. Let's find out really what we're good at and what we're not good at and what the public want. So for the very first time in a number of years, we ran a survey. We called it the Big Survey. It was open during the whole month of December, and we emailed our mailing list, which was 9,682 people. 52% of people opened the email, and 656 people completed the survey. They had the opportunity to say anything they wanted. There was a number of set questions, and some of the results are, we had a friendliness score of 9.4 out of 10, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how likely would you be to recommend the theatre to a friend? It was 9.4. Then we asked people, what do they actually want to see at the theatre? And you'll see that obviously the plays were the number one aim: drama, musical theatre, murder mystery, live music, comedy, tribute bands, talks, lectures, etc. It's quite interesting to see those, because that's the line of actually what productions we do have on. So it justifies having a summer play season, which is building year on year and is incredibly popular. It's incredibly popular with local people who buy a season ticket to see all 12 plays, and then they get 2 plays for free, and also a half season ticket where you buy 6 plays but only pay for 5. We then asked, what would people like to see more of? And they said more challenging and contemporary drama, more plays, so they even want more plays than what we put on, more live music, and more comedy. And we asked people what their favourite shows were, and number 1 came out as the Summer Play Festival. 2 Steampunk Orchestra, who came here for the first time last year and back again this year. Variety by the Sea, which is a professional compare artist who puts on Variety by the Sea. This year we've actually got 4 performances. All 4 performances will sell out with the trend that they have. The Christmas Pantomime came 4th, and then tribute bands. The Christmas Pantomime is so important because it does actually appeal to 3-year-olds to 93-year-olds, and it's just lovely to see the entire family, a mixture of people enjoying the shows. So the Summer Play Festival came out as the most popular fixture. It was most mentioned in the questionnaire, and it has the most attended event of the year. Things that were comments that we will take on board. People questioned our box office opening hours. As I said, we have got Spectrix, which is our computerized system. To be honest with you, 75% of transactions are now online, and we have reduced our opening hours because the demand wasn't there of people coming in at certain hours when they can actually book online anytime, day or night. There was comments of regards our advertising, and a greater presence on social media are needed. We actually feel that that is very fair criticism, and that we are actually looking at that and trying to improve that as we go along. Interestingly, people want more matinees. It's very interesting how in this theatre world things change so quickly and so differently. It wasn't that long ago that you could guarantee the Saturday night would be the most popular night. Actually, that's not the case any longer. It's more Thursdays and Fridays, and sometimes Saturdays are a little bit harder to actually sell. People commented on transport and locally how difficult it might be to attend. A lot of that was buses running late at night, hence that they wanted more matinees. We've looked at trying to do some matinees in the summer season, but because the turnaround of the show is within 1 week and another, so they're rehearsing, they've got 1 show on and they're rehearsing next week's, it would be very difficult to actually have a matinee during the summer season. However, we do have matinees on a number of other shows. People mentioned that we really should be looking at an improvement to our seating, and that a refurbishment is needed and long overdue. I am delighted to say that next year in January and February, that refurbishment is going ahead. The seats that we have were second-hand over 45 years ago. They really have served us well, but they're not going to be in a position to serve us for much longer. So the refurbishment that we have will be new seats in the auditorium, and while they are being stripped out and replaced, it would make sense to decorate and also have a new carpet, which is the plan. So with our big survey, at the end of the survey, there was an opportunity for everyone to leave a comment of anything they wanted to do, whether it was positive or negative, any ideas or any thoughts. And to be honest with you, most of the comments were really very good. They were praising the range of shows that have on, how welcoming we are. They're welcoming and friendly staff. There was over 60 mentions. Comments like we're so lucky to have such a great theatre. It's such an asset. People were saying, I plan my holiday and visits to Sidmouth, depending with what's on at the theatre. And 6 people actually said that it had influenced their decision to buy property in Sidmouth and in the area. And 5 people referred it to as the jewel in the crown. That's actually all the slides that I've got. So I'm just going to come out of that. And yes, so sorry,
Graham, carry on.
So sorry. So we're looking at the future. So we've got a really exciting future ahead of us. We've got the refurbishment taking place in the auditorium. We're taking on board all the feedback from the big survey to help us grow. So we've actually listened to what people wrote and said about us and the demand for comedy. So we've now introduced some comedy nights. The first one was actually last week. It sold out. We've got more planned. That is attracting a completely new audience of youngsters. I would say that the average age in the audience was 30. And there were many, many people that said, oh, I didn't know it was here. I haven't been here before. So it was lovely that they were coming in for the very first time. We will continue with the play season and develop it even more. The quality is really good. It's really important that we continue with that. We got a local writer who's writing a book about the play season over the years, the history of the place, and hoping to launch that book once it's complete. New comedy nights, as I said, were requested, very successful. The bar take was incredibly impressive. Then people asked about more contemporary drama, and we have actually already started working on that. We had a production called Apples in Winter, which was very successful. It was a one-woman play about her son being on death row, and he had requested his mother's homemade apple pie. And she actually cooked an apple pie on stage while she was talking to the audience. We actually said before we booked it that we were we consider ourselves really well if we were to achieve an audience of 100, because it was very different and it wouldn't appeal to the masses of people. However, we actually sold 211 tickets for that production, and it was a huge success. The play lasted for just over an hour. There was an interval, and then there was question and answers afterwards where the audience went in. I actually thought some people might leave. They didn't. All the audience went back in, and they overran on their question and answer session. So it was hugely successful. One lady did actually come up to me and say, did she actually cook an apple pie? Because I swear I can smell apple pie. And I said, yes, she did. There was an actual oven on stage and she was cooking it. So it was a great piece of theatre, had a huge impact on a lot of people that saw it. We will continue our long-standing relationships with local societies and support the youth theatre, who those groups use us from dance schools to musical theatres to amateur dramatics and to the youth theatre, who have only just celebrated 40 years of productions here at the Manor Pavilion Theatre. And that is the end of the presentation. So if anyone's got any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Thanks, Graham. If you can just exit from that.
I will do. Can you help me exit on that one?
If you've got a little button somewhere that says stop sharing. There we go. Wonderful.
That's brilliant. I was looking for it at the bottom, and of course it was at the top of the screen. There we go.
No, it's always in the other place.
What?
Thank you so much, Graham. No, that was wonderful. Yeah, I've got to say the theatre is one of my favourite venues during the Sidmouth Folk Festival, and I've seen some fantastic musicians in there, some really memorable performances. So I'm pleased you're getting new seating, but please don't lose that kind of old-fashioned feel of the theatre, because it's a wonderful, welcoming, cosy kind of place. What is your capacity actually, and will it change with the new seating, or will it be the same?
Right, so we actually can accommodate 277. It's really interesting you say the comments that you've made, because we definitely don't want to change the feel or the reaction of the actual auditorium. We want to very much stay what we are, which is a traditional theatre. So the seating will be very in keeping with the place, and so will the decoration as well. Our aim is for people to come in and say, what an improvement, and isn't it great? Do you know what I mean? We do care passionately about it, myself and my staff. We try and welcome people as we would like to be welcomed. We want them to come in. We appreciate they have a choice on whether they come to visit us, and we want to see them back again. And that's actually what does happen. And you mentioned the Sidmouth Folk Festival. Again, that is really quite special in the fact that it splits up from the play season. So 6 plays have happened. There's a week's break for Folk Festival, and then there's 6 plays after. The actors are delighted because they get a week off. But it's wonderful to be able to use the venue for Folk Week. And we actually are open from 9 in the morning till midnight. And in the main auditorium, we would have 3 or 4 events. So we could have one show coming off, the audience coming out, and the next audience coming in. And then, of course, down in our arts centre, we could have 3 events going on there. So the numbers of people coming through there is great. And we won't want to change that welcoming feeling of what we are.
Oh, that's great, Graham. Yes, and I've been to both parts of the theatre during the Folk Week. Been to workshops and performances actually in the Arts Centre and also in the main auditorium. And, yeah, it's a wonderful theatre. I agree with the jewel in the crown description, definitely. So, appropriately, we'll start with the Sidmouth Councillor, Councillor Ian Barlow. Thank you, Chair.
I'm not known for my cultural highbrow or anything like that. The only time I've been to the theatre actually is either Folk Week or actually to watch Jethro. So again, not exactly highbrow culture. But again, what a great thing for many people. And again, I just want to say to Graham, I know Graham is appreciated as the manager and how he has brought it up. Customer service is always underappreciated, I think, but it's appreciated by the customers. And I always think businesses just don't understand how to do it, but you've certainly got that on. And I just want to also stress how important this is for the district. It's not just Sidmouth's lucky, it's in Sidmouth. But this is important for the whole district, bringing people in for arts and culture, and then they stay for 4 or 5 days where all the towns have joined up, where we pass them amongst us. They, the coach tourism, where coaches are going to the different towns now. It's so important. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone can be equal. And at the end of the day, but everyone benefits from those that do it really, really well. And Graham, you really do. It would be interesting, I think, if you can delve down into the postcodes to just see what the split is between EX10, EX12, EX14, EX1. Just think, and if it's all EX10, don't share it. But if it is spread around the district, I'm sure it will be. I just think that would be interesting for people to see. And just look, really well done. I know you've got the thing coming next year with the reorganisation, the upgrading, etc. And yeah, I just wish you well. I think it's really good, and please carry on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Councillor Colin Buchan. I hope I've said that correctly, Colin.
You have. Hi, Graham. Great presentation. As part of your refurbishment, are you working on the soundproofing so we can have more live music?
Unfortunately, the budget is for the auditorium and the seating and the decorating of it. The soundproofing problem would be a huge cost because it's so massive. The building leaks the sound from all sorts of areas. We've had specialists in the past to look at it. We do have musical events on, so we do have live bands, etc., etc. We don't want to have a program full of tribute shows. That I must stress that. We want to be selective. We don't want to split an audience. So it is manageable. Occasionally there is something that would appeal, and you think sound levels could be a bit of a problem. Do you know what I mean? So it's striking a happy medium, if I'm honest. I've got to keep the local residents on my side and happy. And it's working together. At the moment, we still have the town band. We have all sorts of different concerts and music. So it's not, we're not seeing a load of productions and saying we just can't take you. It's a much smaller amount. To be honest with you, we get a lot of our musical events through a particular promoter who works with us, knowing that we've got a soundproofing problem. And when we work with him, the bands that are on, if it gets to a point that it's too high, then they will bring it down for us and work with us. So it does seem to work. It does seem to work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Arnott, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Graham, so much. That was a brilliant report, and I mean that. And I read it very carefully. I've got a bit of a background in all this myself, albeit 30 years ago. I love the spread of usage. If you were building a new theatre now and you wanted to make it sustainable, you'd want 45% professional, 31% amateur community, 16% education, and 7% music. It's just superb, particularly for a venue with 277 seats, which, I'm sure there are some days you think, God, I wish I had 400 seats, and possibly some days you think, I wish I had 20. But although they don't seem to be very many of those at all. So this is really good to hear. 401,000 sales, on sales, 76,000 on bar sales. I thought Ian might pick up that they're slightly down this year, but I'm not going to ask that one. I am, of course, delighted that your website says proudly owned and managed by East Devon District Council. So thank you for that. I think our logo could be slightly bigger, but there we go. We'll put that to one side. Just as a matter of information for forum members, so the refurbishment it's a capital allocation from us as the council. It's £261,000 that we set aside, I think, about a year and a bit ago, to be spent in the course of this year. And I'm guessing that's the allocation that's going to pay for the new seats, is it, Graham, and the carpet and whatever?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So it will be for new seating, decorating the auditorium, which actually hasn't been decorated in about 40 odd years, and a new carpet. As regards East Devon District Council logo, we can get that enlarged within seconds, and that will happen.
I was joking, really, but I'll take it if you can.
No. Listen, we are proud to have that on there, and we listen, and not only do we listen, but we will react. And that is the case. And as I say, it is a question when you look at that mixture of who's actually coming. There's theatres out there that would die for those kind of figures. I can say that because I know several of them that phone me up and say, my goodness, how are you doing it? Because we can't at the moment and we're struggling. Do you know what I mean? So it is special. I think it's a good combination of mixture from professional to amateur. It's a very varied program, and we're constantly looking for new things like that production with Apples in Winter. I said to my colleagues, oh, I think we'll do well with 100 seats, you know, and then we were proved wrong, 211, and new people coming in. I've always said theatre isn't a business, but to survive, it has to be business-like, and that's how we really operate, you know. Yeah, thank you.
That's a great philosophy, Graham. And I think actually from the sound of it, and knowing the kind of cost of some of these projects, the 260,000 sounds like pretty good value for money for replacing the entire 277 seats. Councillor Barlow's got his calculator out as we speak. Charlie Plowden.
Thanks, Chair. Just very quickly, Graham's being very modest. I remember in 2021 when we had to close the theatre with COVID. It was a very, very dark day, and we sat there and discussed, having had an absolute cracking 2019 in terms of ticket sales, everything was on the up, how we're going to recover from this. And so it's just nothing short of remarkable what Graham's done and the team. And I just want to sort of pay tribute, you know, to him and, you know, what he's done. It's amazing. And it's just great to see it's going from strength to strength. And also it's quite opposite that I think some of you may have been reading in the national media, some of the comments that Leslie Manville's been making about the state of regional theatre and bemoaning, you know, the fact that there is a, you know, there, as Graham said, a different story going on, you know, with theatres around the country at the moment. And, you know, regional theatres are very much, you know, under a lot of pressure, closing, you know, there's less performances being put on, a particular genres being put on as well. So that's limiting opportunities for actors and actresses to sort of come through the system. And I think, you know, what Graham's doing, albeit on a much smaller scale, is providing that opportunity, such as the summer season, you know, where actors will get their first opportunity to really craft their skills and to go on and, you know, do great things. And we've seen that happen, but also from the Amdram side as well. So important, you know, that also is a breeding ground for people going on, you know, into, you know, the professional circuit. So we are in our small but beautifully formed way, you know, doing our bit, you know, for, you know, showing there is, you know, life and there is a real future for live theatre, and the figures show that. So I just wanted to say that and pay tribute to Graham, and also to us, you know, as an organisation. We've backed, you know, Theatre All the Way. I'm not sure that, you know, every local authority has done that, you know, post-COVID. So I think it's an opportunity for all of us to pat ourselves on the back, and long may it continue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Charlie. And that's a good point about actors getting the chance to hone their skills. It's the same in culture as in sport, isn't it? You've got to have the kind of grassroots sort of offer for people to be able to grow and develop themselves. Otherwise, you don't get the top athletes, you don't get the top actors. So I think that's very important. Nick, Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Charlie's said it all, if I wanted to add, would put to, but so my thanks to Graham. I think, you know, you're showing everybody the way it should be done. So please, you know, carry on, and strength to you. My best wishes. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nick. And Ian, Councillor Barlow again.
Just replying to Paul's thing, I just wanted to say to him, Paul, it's not just about the money. I think that's an important thing that you need to take in when this is in thing. It's not just about the money. This is about obviously spreading the culture and the sport, etc. It's all very important. Thank you very much.
I've noted the date, Ian, and that would be quoted back to you at many meetings in future. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, I will just say, Graham, I'm already planning my trip to the Manor Pavilion during the Folk Festival, because I believe you're staging Reg Muros with a fantastic show which I missed at the Beehive Theatre in Honiton. So I shall be come to see it during the Folk Festival, and I recommend it to everybody. He's a fantastic performer, Reg Muros, and very thought-provoking songs and everything. Okay. So bookmark that one. And Caitlin, you have put your camera on at just the right moment, so you're going to tell us about all the things that Events East Devon have been putting on. And thank you for all the regular emails I get reminding me just how many things are going on, even in humble old Exmouth, using the Strand, the beach, the Manor Gardens and so on. So it's great, all the things you're doing. But I'll let you explain that in your own way.
Thank you. So yeah, just I'm Caitlin. I manage the events team, and just a quick thank you to Sarah and Alethea for squeezing me in today, and thank you to Claire for your kind words as well. So I manage the events team. We are a very small team of 2, so it's myself and Katie. We do have the same last name. We're not related. We're not the same person either, just to clarify, because we get that quite a lot. Yeah, and I'm also not related to Councillor Davey or any other Davey at East Devon whilst we're there. So I have been in this role since the end of 2021, and the events team has in place since 2020. Events previously sat within the Street Scene Business Support Team, and the events team do sit in Street Scene at the moment. So essentially, our roles are to hire out street scene and car parks land to those who want to put on events. We cover the whole of the districts. We have got a lot more event spaces in some areas than others as well. We also host a maximum of 6 weddings on our land in Connaught Gardens, where the events team act as the venue manager on the day. We grant filming and photography permissions for the whole of East Devon, well, areas that the council own. We administer the fitness licences. We also do the administration for the Safety Advisory Group. So for those of you that don't know, a Safety Advisory Group is made up of council officers, Blue Light Services, Devon County Council and National Highways. And this is for every single event of a large scale taking place in East Devon. Events come to the Safety Advisory Group and get advice and guidance in one area. So that could be events at Bicton, events at West Point. That's not just events on council land. And we also manage the Sidmouth Folk Festival Seafront Traders and do a whole host of other things, try and provide advice and guidance to town and parish councils if required. And a big bit of our role is supporting event organisers and trying to get their events over the line. We do have a strategy and policy. They were both agreed at Cabinet in March 2021. They both do need a lot of updating now, because obviously this is before the arts and culture strategy was in place and before the tourism strategy was in place. So we need to do some work to link us all back up together. As officers, we meet regularly and information share all of the time. I feel, we are all very proactive, and it just now needs to be put on paper that we do all of this. We are also part of the local authority event organisers group. So that is from councils all the way down as far as Truro, all the way up to Aberdeen. We information share, we collaboratively work on events, guidance, and we benchmark fees, processes and things like that as well. We benchmark our fees with a whole host of other local authorities, local and more national as well. So just to give you a bit of a background on the type of events we've had and how many events we've had. So in 2021-22 we had 134 events, with our first legal wedding ceremony taking place then as well. In 22-23 we had 165 events, and in 23-24 we had 201 events. So we find that it does fluctuate quite a bit. This could be because we have gained an area or lost an area. So for example, the Imperial Recreation Ground in Exmouth is our biggest site in Exmouth, but we now have got to take in habitat mitigation considerations as well. So we can't use that event space at certain times of the year due to wintering birds. And as other rewilding and wildlife schemes have taken place, we've slightly lost areas for events, or we've changed the type of events that can go ahead there, simply to protect wildlife pretty much. So in 24-25, we had 189 events over 311 days. So what we mean by like events and days is, my example is Sidmouth Folk Week. So Sidmouth Folk Week is one event, however, it's live for 8 days. So that's where we then get the days calculation from. So, we've got some days in the summer where we have got an event on in every town, and I could do splitting myself in 7 to get to them all. And at the moment, well, so 425, our most popular place was Exmouth. We had 108 events taking place in Exmouth. Sidmouth had 49, Seaton 18, and then Axminster, Bere, Budleigh, Honiton, Ottery all had single figure events. A couple of them are just 1. Some of them are up to more like 8, 9. July and August were our busiest months. Last financial year, we had 44 events on in each month. Previously, it's been June and July, but we've had a reshuffle of some of the regular events, so now it's more July and August. For filming, we facilitated a major production, and we had 17 other filming permissions granted. We've also had 15 fitness licenses that we administered as well during that. So looking forward to 25, 26, it can be quite hard for us to know what's coming, because we do only need 6 weeks notice for some of the lower level events, 3 months notice for medium. We like 6 months for large scale, but we can do it in 3, and that's more sort of led by licensing timescales as well as our own. We are extremely busy at the moment with event applications coming in left, right and centre. You've probably seen Katie emailing out the consultations. So yeah, this week alone, well, as of this morning, we've already had 5 applications come through. Some we knew about, some are brand new events. So at the moment, we have got at least 1 event on each weekend in June, July and August. They are fully confirmed events. There will definitely be more. We are fully booked for weddings in 2025, and we have only got 1 slot left for 2026. We do have some event bookings penciled in for 2026 as well, but not many at the moment, because we tend to find some of the bigger ones that happen at the Maybank holiday, late Maybank holiday, I should say, will then put their application in formally for 2026 as soon as their event has finished. But we do have some dates penciled in already. We have a very wide range of events that take place on our land. This can be from like town band performances to larger scale festivals. We've also got a lot of running and sporting events as well. And that's pretty much it for my verbal update, but happy to take any questions if anyone's got any at all.
Thank you, Caitlin. I'm astonished there's just 2 of you. That seems an incredible amount to get through. So I can well see why you might need to split yourself into 7 on some occasions. Yes, I just know how many events we have going on in Exmouth. Councillor Hookway, Nick.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, thank you, Caitlin, for your whistle-stop tour of events. I do want to take this opportunity to tell the forum that Caitlin did a fantastic job when we had the beer film event going on, and not only Caitlin and events, but also the tree people and health and safety people as well, and they got complimented by it from the film company, who said that East Devon District Council went above and beyond the normal expectation of help from councils. So thank you and well done for that, and certainly well done for all that you're doing. It's a fantastic job you're doing, and you've got there. Absolutely fascinating. But the one thing I wanted to ask you about was, sometimes we hear questions about weather and events being cancelled about weather and due to legal liabilities. Can you just give us sort of a brief guide about how you assess weather and whether events are safe to carry on, please? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So both myself and Katie have been trained to IOSH Managing Safely level. So IOSH, Institute of Occupational health and safety. And we also consult. So for those of you that get our consultations, paperwork is then sent out after to the health and safety team at East Devon. So all the applications are then checked through by the health and safety team as well. So I might go through and pick out some issues, and then I'll say, this is my summary of issues potentially. And then they would review, agree and check. So then we try and work with the event organisers to improve their risk assessments and improve their safety paperwork. So some events then will also get sent to the safety advisory group. So that's then when we have the input from the police, ambulance, fire, and any highway team as well, because the police guidance that they've got is brilliant and set out event organisers, responsibilities in that as well. So we can have a couple of safety advisory group meetings, and again, it's all liaising, meeting with the event organisers to try and get their paperwork over the line. We give them guidance throughout. We have risk assessment templates. We do try and meet regularly with our event organisers. Now we're getting so many, it can be quite difficult, but ones that are particularly struggling with paperwork, we do spend time with to facilitate the event going ahead. If we then get to the stage that we have got a real issue and we don't feel it's safe, officers then tend to have a meeting. And so my assistant director is Andrew Hancock, so we'd loop in Andrew, and we'd also get Dave Whelan from an emergency planning point of view involved as well. Touch wood, I'm touching a lot of wood. We haven't had to cancel any event on safety grounds due to not being able to get their paperwork up to standard. And I'm hoping it will stay that way going forward. So it's a lot of cross-departmental work again to get the events over the line, but we usually work it all out.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good question, Nick. Thank you. Ian Barlow. Ian.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Caitlin. I know you're really busy. You've got lots on, and from the sound of it, July and August obviously is your really busy time. It's height of the summer, height of the season. Do you give any extra support? I mean, are you trying to encourage? I know some of our cultural and our tourism strategies are trying to encourage people to come outside of the main thing, what they call the shoulder seasons. And I wonder, do you try and, are you sort of bound by them, or are you saying that from what you're saying, you've got to catch up with them? Are you basically saying that you're autonomous, you do exactly the same for everyone, you don't try and encourage, like the rest of the council plan, etc., trying to spread the economy out? Are you saying you don't use that as a golden thread through your thing, or are you? Sorry, I'm being a bit vague. I'm trying to not upset anyone, but at the same time, I'm just trying to ask: are you supporting outside of the main season more than you would in the main season when there's an awful lot going on?
We try and support throughout the whole season. To be honest, I mean, right now we don't have many events going on. But we're really busy with the paperwork, where in the summer we don't have as much paperwork, but we're really busy with actual events taking place. So it's quite often that, when we've got larger events on, so like Folk Week, I'm in the office for 9 days in a row, that then we will try and meet up with people as well and support their events. So we do try. Again, obviously, I've only got outdoor venues, which in the winter season isn't great. And does put a lot of people off. We do sort of have pragmatic chats on I don't think your event is going to work here, but have you tried, for example, the Ham, or have you tried somewhere else? So an area that's not in East Devon District Council's remit, but areas that are in the wider East Devon area, so that the event could still benefit the East Devon economy, essentially. It doesn't have to take place in our land. And we do that with like filming opportunities as well. We've had a few that have come through that we can't make work with what we have, but we know places that can. So, for example, they might want a stately home. So it's then pointing them to, okay, yeah, actually we've got places like Escott, and pointing them to Screen Devon, Filming England, and other places in our area that we know have the assets that can support them.
Okay, thanks, Caitlin, and thanks, Ian, for interesting question there. Okay, I can't see any more questions, so I'll just thank Caitlin again for a whistle-stop tour of everything that East Devon are doing to support people who are putting things on. I think it's important to stress that we are trying to support people to stage events and not to make life difficult for them. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And so that's our last item of the meeting. So that brings our meeting to an end. And so I'll thank everyone for taking part. Thank you for all the fantastic presentations we've had. Any members of the public watching, thank you for attending. And thank you everyone else who's attended. I'll just remind you members that until the Democratic Services